Good morning, everyone. So we've been sort of dynamically planning this morning's events, and one of the topics that Carla had asked me to spend some time thinking about was publications and whether we should create a journal of computational sustainability and things along these lines. And so a group of us got together 2 nights ago and had an interesting discussion, which the goal is to kind of continue that discussion here. So I don't have a lot of prepared remarks or answers, but more maybe questions for us to think about. So a goal of Carla and me and some of the other PIs has been to provide high quality publication opportunities for all of us, but particularly for the younger researchers in the room. And so what have we been doing about that? Well, Carla has led an effort to get special tracks at several AI conferences, and I actually wasn't sure how many different conferences we have special tracks at, but we've definitely had them at AAAI, and I think there have been at one time or another things at NIPS and ICML and so on, and presumably CP, ICHCAI, right. So that's been one successful model, and the big advantage is that that you're publishing in an established venue, and yet a big challenge is always to get reviewers to review interdisciplinary work, because we can deliver the computer science side of that, but getting the domain side is always hard. Another thing we've been doing, we meaning like many people in this room have worked on organizing workshops at a lot of the leading conferences. And again, I'm aware of the ones more on the machine learning and AI side and less on things like planning and constraints and so on. But this isn't really publications, but it certainly is an important community building activity. So then the question is, well, what should we be doing next? Certainly some people say, well, in computer science at least, conference publications, that's all that matters. I do not share this view myself, because I learn a lot more from a journal paper than from a conference paper. So one proposal is that we reach out to some of the journals, the leading journals in our field, and see if we could again get computational sustainability as a track or a topic or whatever. Different journals have different names for it, but and have people on the editorial board specifically recruited, both from within computer science and in the various different application domains or target domains, subject matter experts that could review papers there. Another idea, these are not mutually exclusive, but another idea is should we have maybe pursue special issues in some of the leading journals, not only in computer science, but also perhaps in natural resource economics or ecology or electrical power systems or all these other places. And then another idea is to create a journal of computational sustainability. And so I've been involved in creating journals. I was part of the early days of the machine learning journal, and that journal was created. So the journal publishers have this kind of extortion approach to creating journals, right? They approach the leading people in the field and they say, we want to create a journal in X, let's say machine learning, and if you guys don't do it, we'll recruit somebody else to do it. And so so the antecedents of Elsevier did this in the machine learning community, and so we became a major profit center for Elsevier for several years. But then a group of us got unhappy with the expense of a profit-making journal, and so there was a mass resignation from the Machine Learning Journal editorial board, and we created the Journal of Machine Learning Research, basically by copying what had been done with the Journal of AI Research that Steve Minton, I think, was the original, but several people in AI and sort of planning and machine learning started that journal as a free open access electronic journal. And that's been incredibly successful. I think almost immediately took over as being the leading venue in machine learning. Well, first with artificial intelligence, the Journal of Artificial Intelligence Well, I would say when these journals, when the electronic journals were created, then the for-profit publishers suddenly became a lot more flexible and said, okay, we will let you put up your papers online, and we will allow open access under some conditions. So there's nothing like a little healthy competition to improve everybody in this case. So, but another thing that happened when we created the Journal of Machine Learning was the machine learning field went from having gripe sessions where we would complain about, well, the reviewers at the Artificial Intelligence Journal don't know how to review our papers, to, oh, we have to decide how to review our own papers. We have to actually make up our mind about what our criteria are for success. So we had to take ownership of the field instead of viewing it as we have to convince other people to respect us. It was like we have to figure out what it means for us ourselves. And I mean, Doug was involved in some of these discussions early on too. It was, and it was very healthy, I think, because then we decided, well, you know, where do things need to be rigorous? Where do they need to be flexible? So it was quite an interesting experience. And of course, it's a never-ending discussion. And I'm sure some of us feel like the field has gone overboard in one direction or another. But anyway, so I think I have one more slide. So one question is, well, what would count if we had our own journal? What would count as a contribution? And so I was just brainstorming a little bit about that. So one idea would be sort of the standard computer science. You look into this end, right? Let's see. There it is. So one idea would be to create sort of the standard computer science model, which is you publish a novel algorithm and demonstrate it on some task. And since it's computational sustainability, you would need to have a plausible sustainability story for what was the intended application. Another possibility, this is sort of a spectrum, but another possibility would be perhaps there would be less innovation on the algorithm side, but more you would be trying to demonstrate generality. So you might take a single method and apply it to multiple problems and show that it worked across them. And so that's certainly the two main axes in computer science are sort of power on a particular problem and generality across problems. But then the third possibility, and this is the thing that's really hard to publish in the computer science literature, would be where we take essentially an existing method. Maybe there's no innovation on the algorithmic side at all, but the question is how you apply it to some important sustainability problem, and you figure out a lot of the emphasis is on what aspects of the problem allowed you to actually succeed with this. How did you formulate the problem in a way that worked? I thought there were some interesting talks yesterday where the real contribution was, oh, here the right way to formulate it, the right variables, so that when you wrote it down as a MILP or something, you got what you wanted. You know, you weren't. I mean, you aren't publishing CPLEX again. You're publishing the work you did in the formulation. So in this case, it's more of an analysis of the strengths and weaknesses of the method and how those matched the requirements of the problem, and maybe comparing against some others. So these were some ideas that we had for that. And then finally, the question about the journal structure. So obviously, I'm a big fan of the JMLR model, which is open source, no cost to the authors or to the readers. I think we can just get their software. I mean, JMLR copied the software from JAIR, and it's been a whole open source effort all along there. But then one thought is to have a matrix structure to the editorial board. That is to say, we sort of think of our field as having rows and columns. And which one did I make? The rows, I guess, I was thinking of being the computational sustainability domains, things like conservation and energy and cities and agriculture and so on. And then the columns would be the computer science expertise, optimization and learning and visualization and so on. And so the one thought would be when a paper comes in, we would want to make sure that there were actually two editors, one editor who's responsible for the sustainability aspects of it, and one who's responsible for the computer science aspects of it. And So that might be a novel thing to consider. And so the executive editor's main job would be recruiting people, editors that would represent the rows and the columns. And we would, a potential issue here is getting editors to sync up and make a joint decision might add some delay to the review process. But I think, if we really want to embrace interdisciplinary research, we need to have some model, I think, that is an interdisciplinary review process also. So anyway, those are some thoughts, and now we can open it up. We have about maybe 10 minutes to discuss, or 5 minutes. So yes, Toby.
One of my hats, I'm editor of special projects at JAIR, and we will be meeting next week at Ishkai for our annual meeting, so I'd be very happy to put to them the suggestion that this community wants to have a special track with JAIR. I think that would receive a favourable response. Just as an example, they're just starting a special track on AI and society to look at societal impacts, AI, philosophical, economic, and others. So they're very keen to respond to how the field is evolving. Equally, if this community decided that it wanted to have the brand recognition by actually having its own journal with such names, just a special track. The AI Access Foundation, which is the not-for-profit which runs JAIR and some other things, I think would also be receptive to providing an umbrella for that, legal standing or anything.
Well, of course, an advantage of working with an existing organization is it would be a lot less work for us.
Yes. Thirdly, I'm sure we'd be happy to share the software, although we're actually trying to change and upgrade the software at the moment, so I'm not sure.
Yes, right.
Software, given that we've already decided to move to the I can't remember this SFU software.
Right. Yes. Open Journal. Yeah. Right. Whatever it is. Yes.
So we're in the process of moving to that. So I'm not sure it's our software.
There were two over here. I guess in the back row first. Oh no. Okay. Warren.
So my experience. So I come from operations research, but I interact a lot with computer science. I publish in the CS conferences and published in CS journals. I had one paper on energy storage that I shared informally with a friend of mine on the editorial board, and he sort of gently replied back, says, well, JLMR really sort of sees itself as a theory journal. And it was an algorithmic paper, okay? It just used energy storage as the context. I then discussed it with another friend over lunch, also on the JLMR board, and he said, oh, send me the paper informally, and I sent it to him, and he says, well, he looked at it, and it was an algorithmic paper, we had theorems, but he in fact said, not enough theorems. Okay, and I've seen this happen in fields where they sort of get this upward spiral of, it turns into an equation counting area, but this was two members of the editorial board that I considered friendly, who in effect politely said, JMLR really views itself as a theory journal. We want to do equation counting. This is what I was told.
Yeah, I would agree that it doesn't have a
this is my experience.
Application.
My experience also with the CS conferences is that, at least with energy papers, and some years ago, Carla encouraged me to send some papers to the AAAI workshop that she was, a conference that she was organizing. And once again, we ran into problems, and I served on program committees and discussed papers and found that, I in fact walked away saying, okay, I don't think the conference proceedings format for energy papers, there's just not enough space, there's not enough pages to actually describe a problem and do anything and do numerical work. So I sort of gave up on any of the conference proceeding formats for energy related work. I don't know about JAIR, I don't have any interactions. I don't see JMLR as being friendly to computational sustainability. This is a problem-based approach. My home community originally came from transportation, and so I'm very well familiar with working within a domain context. And I have a feeling that, yes, a new journal really is going to be the only way to do the types of things that you want to do. You're going to need that format.
Okay, thanks.
Two comments related. One is, I think the KDD community may be more open to applied, and I'm not seeing KDD anywhere in here. I'll be happy to get anything there.
Well, so in which of the journals do you think you would want to try to approach?
So
TKD or
well, right. So there's TKD, but even starting with this, like because I haven't seen computational sustainability even as part of the data mining for social good, which was the big theme 2 years ago. But I think computational sustainability as a track of KDD could be at least the start of that exposure and bringing that community in. TKDD, TKDE could be an option, but I also think that the computational biology community is a good model where you have for every truly interdisciplinary work, there's essentially the computer science aspect of it goes to the conferences, and the application and the implications for the application go to the journal. And so, for example, most of the computational biology conferences will have kind of two publication versions, and the ICB, which is the main computational biology conference, ICB, also has, you have the conference proceedings for the computational part that people want to publish, but then also there's the bioinformatics journal, which publication that comes almost as a parallel option.
So if you're a biologist doing computational biology, would you not? Is there a way that you give only a talk at the conference?
Yeah.
I see.
And you publish in the journal.
Yeah, and I know that's been done with some neuroscience and computer science conferences also.
Exactly. Yeah. So for this, I think these kinds of interdisciplinary models could be a good model for computational sustainability, where people in computer science who understand and are okay with proceedings publications, great. But if you're a domain scientist, part of that interdisciplinary research, and then journal publication is the track.
Right. Yes.
So I just wanted to point out that there's more to sustainability than AI, and it seems like all of these efforts are trying to make some AI-focused venue for sustainability research, but I feel like there is nothing anywhere close to a publication venue for systems research that's related to sustainability. There's interesting research in power systems and embedded systems and sensor networks and that sort of thing. And it's all got to be fit into some other systems venue and really try to convince people that this is relevant when they don't care about the sustainability applications.
Yeah, I mean, I've published in transactions on sensor networks, but I've never tried to go to a conference in that area because I wouldn't know how to write the paper, I guess.
Right. Systems conferences really expect you to be a lot more concerned with hardcore scalability and consistency and something cloud. So
Cloudification.
Yeah. So I think having a venue that's designed for sustainability that isn't like a subset of AI would be helpful because it might also allow you to accept more systems publications. We might actually build a system that's useful for sustainability, but that won't get accepted at the systems conference.
Yes.
Yeah. So I had two comments. One was that having a grid structure is really useful, and I would also like to point out that in almost every vertical area, whether it is water, transportation, any of these areas, there are established journals, right? So one idea is that we can have two people in each of the verticals. One is a computer science guy, another is we reach out to these journals and ask for someone who can help. Okay, to navigate that. These are really interesting ideas, whatever we are presenting. Okay, so the point is that it is AI community reaching out to like a transportation TRP or a water journal, and we have a good linkage. The other thing which I wanted to mention was that really we need good data sets. Okay, so and if we can bless some data sets, okay, then what happens is even if you are doing standard work, but on a blessed data set, that kind of comes as a new novelty, which this journal can say, this is a good work.
Well, I mean, I like both of those comments. I mean, one question is, I suppose another thing we could do is, in some sense, create a virtual journal where we sort of have an aggregator website that says well, here are the things that were published in the JARE special track, here are the things that were in the transportation research special track, here's the things in the hydrology thing. And you can come here as sort of your one-stop shop, but then, and we could provide computer science reviewers that would, as you say, build relationships with each of these other communities and say, we would be interested in I don't know. I mean, you could even imagine a model in which people could actually submit their paper to us, but then it would be actually routed to the appropriate journal. Well, I mean, some interactive process, obviously. I
I think that's going to be hard to maintain. I agree.
I think
Have a journal.
At this point, we might as well have a journal.
Yeah. But may I also ask, are you
just brainstorm.
specifically focused on computer science? Is the interest here just computer science?
No, I'm asking any other question or comment.
I think it's I mean, I'm a computer scientist, so maybe this reflects too much of a CS perspective. But I think Carla really wants this journal to be a place where people in other fields would go to find the very best computational research relevant to their disciplines.
So there's a lot of overlap, as everybody knows, between computer science and operations research. And quite often we're even doing similar things in similar ways, but more often we sort of come with our different perspectives. And I think there are problems that are friendly to the operations research community. I see other problems, especially in the type of work that Carla does, that's friendlier inside the computer science community. And I think the two complement each other.
But the question is, would readers, and we were discussing this also in sort of the, say, ecological methods community, right? Because they have journals that just publish, their methodological journals in those fields that publish, well, statistical and computing type things. And could we become a venue where they would come and read the papers in our journal? That's a
So, for example,
high bar to
operations research has no energy or environmental journals.
Uh-huh.
We do have a very active energy and environmental section.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and that's quite active. So the problem is, and this happens a lot in the informs community. Informs community is a very small set of journals. So if you want to grow something new, you're not going to be able to grow it within the existing informs journals. So we have transportation journals. I mean, we have application journals. We don't have an application area. We don't have a journal specifically for energy, which is a major weakness. So energy people like me were sort of trying to, okay, well, let's take this energy problem, but really make sure there's a big algorithmic point and go to journal on computing. There's an energy systems journal, but that's not informs. Okay, that's run by Panos Perales out at the University of Florida. I think that there is already community already doing energy and environmental related work, and they don't have a natural home to go to.
So Carla, I think.
Yeah, so indeed, I think the challenge is we are trying to to reach several goals, and we talked about several of the goals we have in mind. I really think it is important for us to have a journal that is going to be also a major venue for the different domain applications. And if we have, the advantage of JARE or any other journal is that indeed we get we have a chance to be part of a well-established journal. But there's the risk that it is indeed too much computer science. And frankly, I think for this community to grow, the subset of computer science is relatively small. We really need, and for us to have impact, we need to, have impact in terms of the different applications. So potentially another idea along these lines is to actually go and be part of PLS 1 or PLAS or plus, which I think that is a more is perceived as more general, and I think several communities actually look at that journal. I'm not sure exactly how to go about it, frankly, but perhaps
Contact the editors.
Pardon?
We can contact the editors. I mean, that's how, again, I'm familiar with the computational biology domain, so that's how Plus Computational Biology started a couple of years
Plus
ago.
computational biology.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it would be like a plus computational sustainability, and potentially then with different, frankly, I was going to Google this. I did, but because I frankly think that if we are just going after the computer science or operations research community, it's just too narrow. I mean, and we will not have the impact that we hope to have. That is really impact in the different application areas. So,
And
So I guess one last.
right, to follow up, I mean, actually, I like the idea of Plus because it has very much the next slide kind of submissions in terms of what constitutes a good submission for computational biology. There's literally these three categories. It's either novel algorithm, novel application, novel data / application, or the combination of algorithm plus existing data provide new insight in science. And so, like, that's kind of the criteria that they use to accept a paper to even start evaluation. But I want to reiterate also the subset of computer science and reinforce that it is systems, because when we're working in the field, and even beyond energy, when we're working in the field with in building these systems in uninstrumented fields in Africa or anywhere else, there are issues that come up which normal system building is not coming up against. So there's research that is going on there truly in computational sustainability or conservation that is relevant. And so to expand it, KDD systems, just as OR is related to this very closely, so is statistics and a lot of math, right? So these are kind of very relevant fields, but even the computational core is beyond the AI and machine learning and visualization.
Okay, I think I probably should stop here. But just give Toby one sentence.
Just want to, whilst I quite like Plus, I would remind people they charge over $2,000 for each article.
But with a discount.
Well, just when people get upset about the cost of publishing by Plus, some of the other models like Plus are not that cheap.
Right.
well, I guess, but then it is open access.
It is then
Yeah.
after you pay $2,200
For the publication. Yeah, I mean, but maybe that because I do, to get us started, maybe we, I don't know. Then later on we create when we are established. Say well.
Well, or we could build a fund for paying publication fees.
Yes,
and if we get accepted as a comp
No,
sus paper, we just pay that.
Yet another NSF item line.
Well,
Pardon?
oops, you didn't change it here.
It did, you had it.
Oh.
Yeah, you had it up.
Maybe actually I was talking to Mark and he was why is it that we think it's not a good idea to go straight to our own journal? Because it's an unknown journal and it would take a long time to get visibility. So you see that.
I don't know. I mean, I think if you do the launch well, like with JMLR, or you recruit, a full year of really good papers, and you can get off to a very good start. So I don't know. I mean, it didn't take long for JMLR to become the top journal, maybe a year or something.
So here we would have to convince the main people as well.
Right. It's up to us to colonize whatever journal we choose and send all of our good papers to one place, and then it becomes
The JMR got rolling really quickly because there was a very well-established community from the machine learning field.
Yeah,
This is
yeah.
a little bit more complicated.
And machine learning is a huge community to begin with.
Yeah,
I
well,
mean,
yeah, it wasn't that big back in 2000.
yeah, there's
In
no
any case.
comparison. Machine learning is, or agents, or, you know, those are, everything can be machine learning or agents, or, so,